Good day and welcome to Pattern Making with Let Morris. I trust you had a wonderful weekend and you're well. So today we're going to be doing another skirt on the journey of doing a few skirts, and then I'm going to do some other things. So today's lesson is this skirt that we're going to be doing. It's a straight skirt. It's got some tucks coming from the waist and it's wrapped over. The underneath is just a normal straight skirt. It's got two darts underneath the flap or the wrap. We've got a centre back seam, we've got a zip, darts in the back skirt, and a knife pleat. It's an open knife pleat. So today, this is what we'll be doing today. So I hope you can come along with me and join me. And firstly, just remember, as you journey along, I'm trusting that all this going through the lessons and the class with the different shapes of design, that you're able to get value from all these lessons. And most of all, I'm hoping that you're not just watching, but you're trying to attempt to make these things, these garments from your block. And if you haven't got any block, you can go to my YouTube channel. You can see how I've developed the skirt block, the bodice block, and you can follow through. And my whole aim and my lessons are to just encourage individual over the years that I've learned and I have worked in the industry, pattern making, how to develop your blocks, and from your blocks you can develop any style. So and it's very interesting and very artistic, when you are able to do such things. So this time that we're in, we can learn some things. There's so much things out there today, and there's other people that's teaching how to do these things, but you can just follow and just pick up the easiest, the best way that you think you're able to manage. So I hope you can come along with me. I'm giving you a little bit of time so that you can get your paper, your pencils, your ruler, your scissors, all the bits that we need, tracing wheel if you've got them, your curve, your ruler, to create the style that we are going to do today. So I just want to give a shout out to all those that are watching, has been watching, and just to encourage you, don't forget to share, to subscribe. If you can't remember anything, just send me a message and we will just get back to you to help you, because this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm led to do. So it's to help those that would like to create something for themselves and even for others. You can make a living from it. So I'm taking my time to develop and to show you how to go about it from blocks, from very start of measuring your body, making a block, and from that block you can create whatever style you want. And you can always go back to your pattern and you can cut out the style. You can adopt from the pattern that you have, but we'll go through that on in a later stage. So don't forget to share, to comment, and to subscribe. So here we go. So this is the skirt. So we're going to start off with our blocks. As I said, with everything that we do, we start off with our blocks. So I'm just going to put the drawing over there. And these are the blocks. You've got the front and you've got the back. And as I said, you never mark up your block. You always copy it off or trace it off. So that's what I've done. I've already traced around the front, which is here. And I've decided how long I want it from the waist, and I've marked it and traced it off. And I've done the same thing on the back. You put your darts in and you transfer it on your new sheet. So I've already done that. I've pre-done that. So, but just to show you, we start off with the block by marking around. So once you've done that, transfer your darts. We can then remove our blocks, and then we can, you know, begin to do our patterns. So what I've actually done is I've copied off 2 skirt fronts. So I've got 1 and I've got 2, and I've done 1 back. The reason why I've copied off 2 is that we're going to do an under front skirt, and we're going to do a top front skirt. The top front skirt is going to have the pleats. If we just look at the picture again, we're going to have some little pleats going, folds from the waist on the top, and it's going to be the wrap. This is going to be loose, and we call that a wrap over skirt front. So this is why I've copied off 2, 1 and 2. So we're going to do the underneath of the skirt first, and then we're going to go to the top. So I can put that one of these away for the moment, and then I'm going to put the back away. So I'm just going to I've copied off the front, so I've got my 1 front there. So what I'm going to do now is just basically make the pattern for it by adding the seam allowance, because you've got to remember you've got no seam allowance on your waist, your side and your hem. So we've got to do that. So here we go. We're going to have a fresh sheet of paper, whether you use spot across or brown paper or plain paper. So, and then I'm going to fold it like that because I want it to be on the fold. So I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to place my block, my draft rather, on this new sheet of paper, and I'm going to mark around it, because this is, you got to remember that this is the under section. So I'm going to put the dart in so that we've got them transferred onto the underneath, and I'm going to mark along the bottom, and I'm going to come along the sides, and then I can take my draft away. Okay, so now that my draft's away, I'm just going to straighten up my lines here, and I'm going to put my dart in. So you mark your darts on, and I'm going to then add my seam allowance on. So at the bottom, before I add my seam on the bottom, I'm going to taper the hem about 1 inch or 1.25 inches, so that my skirt is a little bit straighter. So you take that line up to the hip, or the low hip rather. So I taper that, so I'm going to take that all off there like that, and then I'm just going to make my line nice and curved round back into the hip. Then I'm going to add my seam allowance at the top. I only want 1 centimetre. So we put 1 centimetre at the top of the skirt, and then we're going to come down the side 1 centimetre, because that's all we need to stitch the side. You don't want to have a big seam allowance around your side, because it then gets bulky. So we take the seam allowance down there, and then we can just rub out this amount that we've got here, that line, the first line we don't need. And then we're going to add a 2 centimetre at the bottom for felling, because it's nice if when we're doing a straight skirt, if we do some felled hem, it looks nice and neat. And then all we do now is we just come back a 3/4 inch, and then we put a mark. That's where the dart ends, and we can just circle it, and we put a drill hole there. And then once we've got that, we can write on here now, this is our front underskirt, and we're going to cut one of those. So once we've done that, we can then now cut out our shape that we've got here. We cut along the seam allowance that we allowed at the top, and we go down the side with the seam allowance that we have allowed, all the way down into there and along the bottom. So this is the under skirt. This is the under section of the skirt. Okay, and all we do now is we're going to put a notch there where the dart's going to be joining, and then we can open out and we put our grain line on the center so that we know we got a grain line to guide us how to lay the pattern piece onto the fabric straight. And then we transfer the darts on this side as well because we've got it there. So just mark it in once you've got that out, opened it out, and you mark your dart in. So that's your dart, and that's where it comes back to that point, and you circle it. So that is your front skirt pattern piece for your pattern. Right, so once you've done that, that's the underskirt. We just go do the back, and I've already pre-marked the back out. So all we've got to do is add our seam allowance on, and then the center back seam plus the amount we need for the pleat and how high up we want it. So it depends on you how high you want your pleat. So I'm going to take my pleat up about 9 inches or 10 inches up, and I put a mark, and then I'm going to just add from there I'm going to add my 1 centimeter for the zip down to that point. And then for my pleat, I'm going to allow 1.5 inches. You can make it 2 inches as well. So you measure out from that line out your 2 inches or whatever. If you're going to make it 1.5 inches, you measure out from that point there that you made, and you just draw the line out, and then you connect it up here down to there, and you extend the bottom line, your hem at the bottom out to that point. And then what we do is we just measure up from there 1 centimeter like that. You measure up your centimeter and you square the line out like that, and you connect the line. You can slant that line up if you want. You can slant it down like that and then slant that one down like that if you want, or you can keep it straight across. In this case, we're going to keep it straight across because we've done some other skirts before where we slant it. And then you just put your 2 centimeters at the bottom, but you must check to see that the side seam matches before you cut out the back. And then you just put your centimeter on the waist along here, centimeter across there and down. We're going to taper it in 1.5 inches like we did the bottom of the front, and from the lower hip we connect the line down like that, and then we just add the centimeter down the side here like that. Just follow the shape round, follow your shape round, centimeter all the way down like that. So, but before you cut it out, make sure you check to see that the seams are matching on the sides like that. Okay, see that? That's matching. And then before you cut out, you can write on this back skirt, and we're going to cut 2 of those. So that is the back skirt. And then I like to fold on my dart before I cut out the top. So you fold that dart over to there, touching there at the top like that. And then you can either trace out on that line or while it's folded, or you can cut out on the shape while it's folded, so you get a nice smooth line into your waist. Then you can open it and you'll see what happened is that that line there has gone up and down, so it gives you a nice fit into your waist when you come to make it up. So you just then cut out your shape down the side like that. So that is your back and your front section completed. Now, if you wanted to line this skirt, you've got to copy the pattern shape out again, the back, and then we wouldn't have a pleat. We wouldn't have this pleat here in the back. So what we'll do is we'll take the line straight down and we put a notch there where the pleat is, or we can just curve it around on another sheet of pattern paper, just above, about 1/2 inch above where the pleat lies, and we just curve it around like this and we give it a nice shape, and that is your lining section. That's how you'd cut your lining. You take that away about 1 inch or 1.25 inches. So that is your back and that is your front of your skirt already done. So the next thing we're going to do, if we put those one side, we're going to get hold of the other piece of skirt that we did, right, which is that one. We're going to open it out, because if we look at our drawing, it's a wrap, so we want the wrap to come over past the center front. So we've got to decide on how far over we want it. But before I do that, I'm going to put the grain line on, because I like to work with my grain line whatever I do. So I'm going to put that grain line on there. So I know that is my grain line going up there. And now I'm going to also transfer that dart onto that side. So with my prodder, I'm going to mark it in so that I can draw it on. So I'm going to draw that line onto this side so that you can see the dart shape that we've got here. Now we've got these darts, but we don't need these darts we don't need the darts here. We're going to put some tucks. So, but on our draft, our block, we've got some darts. So what we got to do is we've got to get rid of these darts that we've got here. So we've got the darts on our block at the front. We've got 1 inch, 1 inch. So that's 2 inches overall. So you've got to write that down so that you can remember it. So you've got 2 inches dart. So we're going to use that 2 inches for one of the tucks that we have, because we're going to put in 3 tucks in our drawing that we've got here. As you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, and we're going to use these darts for one of these tucks. So that's 1 inch, 1 inch, so that's 2 inches. So we've got 2 inches there to play with. So the next thing we've got to do, we've got to decide how far from the side we want the wrap to finish. So you decide on the measurements here how far you want, and that's depending on you. There's not a set measure, so but you've got to decide. So I'm going to decide that I want my wrap to be there. So once I've decided that, I'm just going to rule a line, a straight line down, to help me, to guide me, so that I can do my curve. And the next thing I've got to do, so I've got to decide on how far up from the hem I want my wrap to finish. You can take it 1 inch, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, higher up. It just depends on you. So I'm going to bring mine up about 2 inches, which is there. So I've put a mark. So once I've got that mark there, I'm then going to curve that around into this position here to give me the curve that I've got on my design. So I then curve that around. So I'm doing all my shaping on my block. So I'm just gonna, you can use that with you. If you've got a good steady hand, you just curve that round, because that straight line help you to guide for a guide. So I'm just gonna shape that round. If I'm not happy with that, you know, I sort of play around with it until I get the good shape that I want. So roughly that's about the shape that I want on there. So once I've got that shape, I can now go ahead and put in my dart sections. So what I'm going to do now is to just go into a break so that we can come back to it and you can see how I develop my, what are they called? They're pleats or tucks. tucks, how we develop those. So now we've got our block that we've traced off, and this is our draft, and I've created my style line on there, and then I'm going to create the tuck lines that I want in there. So I'm going to have a break and come back to you. See you soon. Bye.